Audrey. Ta-da. Well, A, it's damn cold. You're just thinking that there's some people with a cartload of money probably just coming home after a damn good night out in London or wherever it is that they do live, and you'll think, hell, I've 8 hours in front of me here. By the time I've done this in steam and heat, these people that I'm talking about, they buy a suit, for instance, and they've no idea the work that's gone into that 2 to 3 yards of cloth to make that suit. They've no idea what troubles has gone into it, that men have, and women, have had to work in some cases, very dangerous conditions.
Tonight, a report from England by John Pilger, the Daily Mirror's special correspondent.
This is a film about working people and about one working man, Jack Walker. Jack Walker represents the silent core of this country, those millions of average Britons who feel they have no voice in 1971 and who have little power to control their way of life. People who belong to and believe in trade unions, people whom politicians and many of us in the press and television now readily blame for this country's economic problems. It is the Jack Walkers who pay the majority of this nation's taxes, and yet take home a wage which barely accounts for a decent existence. Jack Walker is a very proud man. He doesn't wish to complain. He didn't ask us to come and film him. This film, then, is not the voice of Heath or Wilson or Feather. It is the unheard voice of people.
They don't understand. They don't know what it's like at all for a person to stand in the rain or the frost or the snow coming down and you're getting wet through there, waiting at 6 in the morning for a bus to take you to do 8 hours. They don't know. They've never done it. They don't know what it's like.
I left my heart in San Francisco. Time is 21 minutes past 6. Chico Arnez and the Cubana Brass, quiet nights.
6:30 a.m. Jack Walker, age 36, arrives at the place he feels his heritage has allotted him for life. A textile dye house beside the Yorkshire moors. Here in the confinement of steam and fumes and pipes, Jack will greet again the machines that control his day. 15 years in the dye house, 25 years to go, with remission if he's made redundant, and of course 18 pence off if he's more than 3 minutes late.
First thing in the morning, if you're on the morning shift, the thing is, you come in and you get stuck into the job. You know, you've all to sort of start from scratch, as it were. And you'll get maybe an hour and a half where you don't do anything but work. You know, there's no sit down, no smoke, you know, that type of thing. There are 3 machines and you get attached to them, like, you know, you're so used to them. The big one of the 3 we call Big Bertha, like, you know, just among the lads, you know. So as a layman coming in, you'll cough your head off and your eyes you can't see. And then when you're dropping the machine off, like to empty the machine, you're at temperature of, what, 120 centigrade. Well, it's hot. You get the steam with it, but these fumes seem then a lot more fiercer.
7:30 a.m. Jack's wife Audrey has left for the pram factory where she tends a heat moulding machine for 8 hours every day. Her job is on a production line. Her quota is 200 pram sides every day. Pram after pram after pram.
Chrysanthemums or Livingston daisies.
What do you got in here, Jack?
I've about 3 rows of potatoes in there.
Mm-hmm. You grow flowers too, though, don't
Oh, yes, I'm a bit of a dahlia man, like, you know. In fact, last year I won the best award in the show at Shipley Show with my dahlias.
Now, you were born round here, all down
Oh,
here,
yes.
and your father
Whaling
lived down
Green.
here.
Yes.
Jack, you've spent all your life in a dye house, and it's very likely you'll spend the rest of your working life in a dye house. Now, you earn about £20 a week take-home pay, is that right?
Yeah, that's it.
Now, what above all can you hope for now, today?
Well, round here, nothing more. That's as much as for the ordinary hours. That's the top wage round here. All I can hope for is that my daughter, she's a lot better than we've been, but she can get a good education. I don't want her to go into the mills at all. I want her to keep out of there. And probably the only way to keep her out is if she turns up to be a glamour girl and a fellow with a Jaguar comes along and she's gone into the middle class or something like that. I'd like her to be a lot better than we are.
And you'd like her almost to marry out of the working class, marry into something else?
Yeah.
Yes.
We'd nothing when we got married, we'd nothing. We've built up, we've not very long ago, with nothing. Now we've both got to get working again. We've got that extra money coming in with Audrey working. We're better off than a lot more people are, I admit, but it's still hard. It's still very hard. The only daylight in the factory that we see is through the frosted glass. One can be in there, whether it be June, September, January or February, and if you didn't know, you wouldn't know what month of the year it was, because all you can see out of the roof window is the sky. You can't see anything else, and this is, you don't know what year it is. One dreams about things of what one would like to do, but now, looking ahead, I can't see nothing for me in the next 25 years but the dyeing and finishing trade. I'd like a little gardening shop where I could talk to people, not only sell them the gear, but talk to people about it.
Pay time. Just over £20 this week. £20 for work conceived during the Industrial Revolution and which cannot be imagined by those who do not work in factories. Perhaps this is why so many of us have such a distorted image of the unions and their ordinary moderate members, like Jack Walker. For if one has not done it, who can possibly comprehend a life of clocking on and clocking off, of real sweat and hideous monotony, and every Thursday a pay packet with just enough? And who can possibly feel the fear that all the Jack Walkers now feel in 1971, now that redundancies are being posted like battlefield dead?
Audrey, sorry, mate.
Hello. Not so bad.
Oh,
Kind of a day have you had?
fair, like, you know, not to brag about, but fair.
Any news out?
No, not really. I just want to get on with that budget, lass, after we down at cricket club.
Oh, okay then.
So, is it in tin?
Yeah.
Hey up, sweetheart. Hey up, sweetheart.
Well, I've got nearly £10 this week.
Oh, here we go. Oh, we've done very fair this week, then. I've 20. 20 and a few shill. So we're not so bad there. If rent, 372. Insurance,
Milk.
56. Milk. Beverly's dinners, bread, TV, electric, gas, heaters, papers, holiday club, cigs, food, Grattan, Beverly's spending money, bus fares. Know what else is there this week?
No, I can't think about.
Oh, that's 22.85, is that damn thing again? What, a couple of quid spending money? Hell, we're back to square one again. What you say, Beverly wants a dress, don't she?
She could do with one. And her pumps are nearly off her feet.
How much is that going to cost us?
Well, I should say about £3, so.
That leaves us with a quid. We're getting nowhere here fast. You get plenty of noise. This you've got used to. You know, you're sort of brought up with the noise when you walk into the factory. And the fumes, there are some fumes worse than others. Some that make you cough, some that get on your chest. For instance, there's a chemical there that we use. If you've used it that day, and you light a cigarette up at night, even in your own home, miles away from the factory, you can taste this in your cigarette. You know, you can taste it in your food. And it's rather a bad chemical, is it?
Jack Walker has never been on strike, but he spent 10 months out of work during the marathon lockout at Denby Dye Works near Shipley, where he'd worked since he was a boy. That was 8 years ago, and he has another job now. But he's never forgotten how 250 men were told they would be sacked unless they renounced their union. Denby Dye Works here in front of us has very special memories for you. You worked here for 13 years, your father worked here, and your brother-in-law worked here.
Yeah.
And you took part in what was the longest strike in this country's history over a dispute at Denby's.
Yeah.
And yet you're not a militant, are you?
Oh, certainly not, no.
Tell us about that strike and what it meant to you.
Well, it was reported in the local press that it was a foreman that ran a machine. This actually were madam. You know, what it was that Denby's at that time did not want the trade union movement in the works. They came and said that if you want to work here after today, it's a non-union shop on our conditions. And the very next day, each man of the 250 of us was sacked. We all got our cards and a letter to say that we were sacked. And I think that this can happen to any man in Great Britain that's a trade union member. And I think that it's diabolical that after our fathers, like my father served in the trade union movement for all the years that he did, I think that it's diabolical that any management in this country can turn around and say we don't want a trade union movement at all, and you're sacked.
Do working people feel that a Denby situation could happen to them at any time, and this is the reason for their resistance to the Industrial Relations Bill?
I definitely think so. I think that the Industrial Relations Bill particularly, and particularly in our trade, the dyeing and finishing trade, before it starts, it's obsolete. There's no two ways about that. It's obsolete. And we work in closed shops where we work in liaison with the management, the shop floor, the union executives and what have you, and we don't have the troubles. It was just a firm like Denby's. They put an advert in the local paper, dye house men wanted. And men walked in. Well, I'm saying walked in. They fetched them in covered wagons, where a man didn't show his damn face to the public that he were coming into his work for less than we were getting, a lot less than we were getting at that time. We have our own club in Shipley, the trades hall in Shipley, and they're not allowed, if they couldn't get another drink of beer in the world, they couldn't get a drink in our club. This is paid, we pay for that club through our union fees, and they're not allowed in. And I'll tell you something, I don't want to even be where they are.
Do you have many of these black-leg people living near you?
Oh, yes. These fellas lives down the road here. Fellas that lives up the road that's still in there now. Still working there now. And I'll say this, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'll say it till I die. If I saw one that were a fire in my garden, I wouldn't pee on him. And that's gospel truth, is that?
To me, the fear is that you've got a job. One's married, one's got a family. That all of a sudden you feel secure. And then you get a thing like Denby's, where they say every one of you is sacked. Not for bad work, not for stealing or anything like that. All of a sudden you're sacked. And believe me, John, the bottom's dropped out of your life. From once where you was felt secure, you've no longer got security. You're just somebody that stood on a picket line that a lot of people said were lazy buggers. You know, you stood there 16 months. I have pride, and I think the most people in our firm have pride in the work, knowing the main essential point is this, that if Jack Walker or anybody else in that firm doesn't do their work right,
then we have our customers that we are beholden to, then we don't get the orders. And we're back to square one without a work, as you might say. I'm fine.
Going to order one.
I've worked since, excuse me, since 1950, and you've never known from one week to another week whether you would be working next week or not. You know, the trade is so that one time you can get a big order in, and you can work even, like our firm, for instance, we work today. This big order may have got out today. We can go on Monday to a normal day's work, and on the Monday morning, you can say, well, we've just enough for today, we'll all be playing. And playing, it doesn't mean playing a game of football or a game of cricket. It means you're out of work, you're idle that day, with nothing for it. You take a fella about 50, 55. If he don't sort of say, good morning to the gaffer type fella, is he going to be out of his job? And this is his worry, that if in a man at 50, if he's out of a job, it's just no damn chance. There's fellas there at 40, they go for a job. I'm sorry, mate, you're too old, we want a young man. Well, I ask you, you can go fight for your country at 40. You can knock them all down with a bloody gun at 40. At 45, you're too old. At 50, you've bloody gone over the hill.
Can I ask you?
Actually, I think they're trying to create the fear of unemployment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually the whole thing in it. I mean, it's the fear of unemployment.
Bridlington by the North Sea, a place to escape to. 50 weeks in the dye house for 2 weeks in Brid. Bridlington is Jack's one big luxury. Where do you usually stay in? Some of these hotels along here?
Oh, no, they're too big for us. We stay at the back. We have an arrangement where we're on the bed and cruet business.
Oh, what's that?
It's where you pay for the bed to the landlady, and she does all the cooking for you. You buy the food, she cooks it for you. Therefore, you get the cost for a week for 3 of you. Staying with her would be approximately £10. Then you would have your food on top of that, of course.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing they did during the war, wasn't it?
We feel that it's dear enough to save up for the type of holiday that we are having. Same as people say, it's all right, these fellas on £20 a week, they're going to Mallorca.
We don't know many
How
of
many
them.
times have you been to Mallorca?
Well, how many times have I been off the island? Put it that way, I've been off the island once to go to the Isle of Wight.
Taking where you work, how many people there have been to Mallorca, have been abroad?
Take this year, for instance. I should say count them on one hand, particularly in the dye house, you know.
But who are all these people then? We hear go to the Costa Brava and go to Mallorca. We hear the working class of Britain spends their holidays down there.
Now then, you see here, a fella that's going to Mallorca for a fortnight, we'll say. To me, if you're going to go, there's no point in going for a week.
Yeah.
I'll give you an instance. Just take my particular case. If I were going to go to Mallorca, I see it in the television, the newspapers, only £40 Mallorca for 14 days. Right. That 40 is for me, then I've 40 for Audrey, then if you cut it in half again, I've 20 for Beverly.
Yeah.
So that's 40, 80, 100. Now,
That's
that's before we start with anything else.
Where'd your father go for holiday, Jack?
They would go on the similar holiday that I go on now.
So your holiday habits in a generation really haven't changed?
No. If Audrey's money didn't come in, there'd be very little difference between my father's way of life and my way of life. Only that the prices differed in them days and the wages differed to what they are today, but similarly, they're the same. You know, if you break it down financially, they are the same. That he went to the dyeing and finishing shop, like I go to the dyeing and finishing shop. He went to the club, I go to the club. We're trying to save in the building society. I haven't got a lot in other people's eyes, but I think it is. But I'll show you what I've got. And this has took us, since we joined the building society, it's took us like 3 years to save this up.
Yeah.
With hits and misses, like, you know.
Yeah. What have you got saved up then altogether now?
I'm totally valued at £100. That's
Yeah.
my total.
That's your assets.
And that started in 1968. And we've been trying and trying to get forward.
3 years to get 100.
Yeah.
You don't reckon on saving. This is only money that you have over by accident.
Oh, yes, aye. Yeah. As I say, I'd like to save every week, you know, but it don't always work out.
Do you ever think that £100 has taken you 3 years to save?
Oh, hell aye.
is small change to some people?
Oh, well...
Can you imagine that?
I can, that, aye. Well, in fact, some people...
Now, that's sweat money to you, isn't it?
It is that. I've put some good hours in for that, and my wife has. We've put 82.5 hours every week in for that.
What are you saving for, Jack? Is it a house?
Well, originally it was, yes. But the trouble that we've found, it's taken us 3 years to save this £100. But if we'd have tried to save for the house, which has taken us 3 years now, we might have been 6 or 7 years before we got a deposit to go down on this house. So now we've decided that we'd like to save this for Beverly, for when she gets to be either married or 21, so that she's got a better start than what me and her mother had. I'm hoping that we can save somewhere like £500 for her.
Did you ever have anything like that?
This is the most I've ever had in my life.
Do you ever think that when Beverly's 21 and you give her the £500, that it may, with inflation, be not worth as much as it is now?
I don't think it will, like. I don't think it will.
In 12 years' time?
But to us, £500 is still £500.
How does fatigue affect you, Jack, after a day's work? I mean, what particular effect does it have on you?
Whereas you may be going out at night, you probably get a bath and a shave, you feel champion. You probably go down to the club, half an hour. I wish I had to come out, like, you know. But that's not probably every day. You get your good days and your bad days. But same as night shift, for instance. When I work on nights, sometimes I feel like I could lift the roof off. Other time, 5 minutes after, I feel like I have done, you know.
What to you is freedom? Do you feel you have a free life now?
Well, I'll give you an example. Last year I went to Southport Show, and it cost me, I should think, a £5, all in. And I stood in a great marquee there with many hundreds of balloons, and it was quiet, there were no noise, just the smell of the balloons, and that to me were paradise. You know, if I wanted to go and get a drink, I got a drink, a sandwich, I had a sandwich, where I'd never known that before. I'd never been to a big show like that. To me, it was paradise. Or snapdragons.
And they're all set together. You're
Oh, yes, here.
Transplant them.
Yeah,
up
it'll
there,
be a marvellous colour here. You come about July and you'll see some colour then. Aye.
What have you got in the greenhouse down here?
I've just put 18 tomato plants in, and I hope to get something like, £70 of tomatoes off. I hope, anyway.
Gardening is more than a hobby to you, isn't it? What is it?
It is. I feel that to me, it's a way of life. Is that, for instance, when we got Beverly, we planted the seeds, you know, that way, whereas I plant my seeds here, I see that there's nothing I like better than to see the seed germinate, grow up, and either whether it be a flower, or a cabbage, or a cauliflower, to maturity. And this is what I think about life. I think that the seeds are planted for us, and then one grows up, gets married, and starts the whole circle again. And I feel that we sort of originated from the land. We weren't used to all this mills, factories, all the noise and that. We were never used to this going back over the generations. And I think that I like to come back to the land, and I get some real pleasure. It's hard at times, but I get some real pleasure out of it.
Two o'clock. The shift is over. Jack will now go home to his council house in Baildon to his view of mills and black churches. And at dawn the next day, the alarm clock will ring again and he'll come back to the dye house, always remembering the rule, 18 pence off if he's more than 3 minutes late. But Jack Walker is almost never late.
Howdy, lads.
I've left those tomato plants for those lads in the time office.
Yeah.
We terminated the negotiations yesterday. Satisfactory, we think.
Yeah.
150, 2 two 10p for males, 1.50 for females, 2p increase on the night allowance.
Yeah.
To become operative on the 24th of May this year.
Oh,
okay?
very good, Les. Very
See you,
good.
Jack.
Right, I'll see
Ta-ra.
you later, Les.
Okay.
Ta-ra.
Jack Walker's union, the dyers, bleachers and textile workers, is a century old this year. The £2 10p rise is the highest the union has ever won, and the way inflation is going, in 2 years Jack's wages will be back to where they are now. But as Jack says, a pound is a pound, worthless or not. And anyway, what can he do about it? Oh yes, there's always Beverly. Maybe she will find that man with a Jaguar to take her to the middle class.